Okay guys, welcome to our second video of our geometry unit. This is another basic building block video. You're going to need to understand polygons pretty well if you're going to understand a lot of the other concepts in this geometry unit. So it's really good that you have a clear, solid understanding of polygons before we move on to anything else in geometry. Alright, so first of all, write this definition down. A polygon is a closed plane figure with 3 or more sides. Basically, all that means is that you're going to have all straight lines in a polygon and you can't have any curves. Also, so something that looks like this is not a polygon because it has curves, okay? Because the top part of the heart is curved. All the lines on a polygon have to be straight. Similarly, this is not a polygon because the sides don't all connect to each other. You see how there's this gap right here. Both of these are not polygons, okay? Some example of shapes that are polygons are things you're gonna see every day, like triangles, pentagons. You can even have figures that don't look like a shape that you might necessarily have a name for, just as long as they all have straight lines and no curves, and all the lines connect to each other, okay? All the sides have to be connected. That's what that closed figure word up here means. That's what that means when it says that it's a closed figure. Okay, closed means that all the lines connect and no curves. All lines connect, no curves. Alright, so we classify polygons by the number of sides, and they all have very specific names. You need to know the names for polygons from 3 sides all the way up to 10 sides. And some of them you're going to be familiar with. We all know that a polygon with 3 sides is called a triangle. If you need a help remembering that, just think about tricycles or tripods. Tripods are those things that people put professional cameras on so the camera's not all shaky. They have 3 legs, okay? My grandpa used to sing this song about old colonial people. They used to wear tri-corner hats, and the song was like, my hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat. Okay, they're tri-corner hats, all right? So you can thank my grandpa for getting me to sing on a video next time you see him. But yeah, tri-corner hats, triangles, tripods, tricycles, they all have 3 of something. Okay, so quadrilaterals are any 4-sided polygon. Now I know that you probably have names for other 4-sided polygons. Those are more specific names. Quadrilateral is a special group of polygons where a lot of them have very, very, very special names. You know, of rectangles and rectangles and squares. You might have heard of a rhombus or a parallelogram. These are all examples of a quadrilateral. So quadrilateral is the big category, and then you get more and more specific as you go along. And we're going to talk about the specific kinds of quadrilaterals later, but just for now, you need to know that a 4-sided polygon is called a quadrilateral. And the reason you need to know that is because even though you can name something a square or a rectangle if it's appropriate, something like this, assume that's a straight line, would technically be considered a quadrilateral, assuming that this is one side and this is another side right here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. They would all be straight in theory if Ms. ZEITER could draw a straight line, and they all connect to each other. So it's still a polygon. It has 4 sides, but you can't really name it because it's kind of a funky little shape. So we just call it a quadrilateral. That's just our general term for a 4-sided polygon. So some examples to help you remember. The word quadrant, when we graph points on the coordinate plane, there's 4 quadrants, okay? And quadruple, which is like when you've timed something by 4, okay? Quad means 4. All right, anyway. So a 5-sided polygon is called a pentagon. Any 5-sided polygon is called a pentagon. And when you think you can think of a pentathlon, which is a kind of race, or the government building where all of like the United States security stuff and military stuff takes place, is called the Pentagon because it looks like a pentagon and it has 5 equal sides. All right, a six-sided polygon is called a hexagon. So this is where we start getting to things that are a little bit trickier. Everyone is pretty much familiar with triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon, and now we start getting to hexagon, okay? And the best way to remember that is that hexagon and six both have an X in them. It's not a super great hint, but it's going to be better than our name for the seven-sided polygon. Okay, so if you see hexagon, just remember that hexagon and six both have an X in them. Seven-sided polygon is called a heptagon. Say that out loud. Heptagon. H-E-P-T-A-G-O-N. Heptagon. Okay, it's a seven-sided polygon. It's a really uncommon polygon. You're not going to see heptagons a lot. You will see hexagons pretty often, but you won't see heptagons very much. I can't think of any way to help you remember this, okay? So you're just gonna kind of have to remember that the seven-sided polygon is called a heptagon. If it helps you to remember that it comes right after the hexagon, which is the X, okay? And then the weird one comes after that, which is the P, heptagon. Maybe that could help, but that's really the best example I could come up with. All right, an eight-sided polygon is called an octagon. Octagon, which is my favorite polygon. An octagon has 8 straight sides that all connect to each other. Octopus has 8 legs, so you can remember the octagon, okay? The octopus, okay? And as I'm sure you're aware, an octagon is the same shape as a stop sign. So every time you go through a stop sign or you pass a stop sign, you stop at a stop sign. When you're in the car with your parents or adult siblings or whoever's driving, whenever you're the passenger in a car and you go by a stop sign, I want you to think about it being an octagon, okay? To help you remember. Octagon, octopus, stop sign. All right, a nonagon is a 9-sided polygon. The nonagon is not quite as rare as the heptagon, but it's still pretty rare. You're not going to run into nonagons very often. Not on the map test, not in my class, but it's good for you to know that the name of a 9-sided polygon is a nonagon. And the best way to remember that is that non kind of sounds similar to 9. Okay, it's just a little bit off. It's got the E on the end, and it's got the I sound instead of the O sound. Non-9, 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 nonagon, 9, nonagon, 9. It's the best way to remember it. And finally, the 10-sided polygon is called a decagon, okay? So you'll run into this every now and then. The best to remember that a decagon is a 10-sided polygon is to just think about decade, okay? A span of 10 years is called a decade. So decagon, decade, okay? So when you think of a decagon, think of a decade. So here's just a little chart to help you classify the polygons by the number of sides. We're going to do some activities in class to help you remember. And then just really quick, this isn't super important, but you still need to go ahead and write it down. In a convex polygon, all of the vertices point outward, okay? And there's nothing that points inward. In a concave polygon, at least one vertex, which is one point or angle, kind of points inside. It starts to look like it's kind of caved in, concave, caved in. These are going to be the polygons that are a little bit funky looking, okay? They don't look like your traditional polygons that you think of. You know, both of these down here are both pentagons, okay? They both have 5 sides that are straight and they're closed in, but this looks like the pentagon that you're used to seeing, whereas this one looks kind of weird, like it's all kind of just going the wrong way. It's not, it's just a concave polygon. And finally, a regular polygon is a polygon where all the sides are the same length. Okay, a square is a great example of a regular polygon. We know that all sides of a square are exactly the same length. It's a regular polygon. You can also have regular polygons where you have 5 sides, 6 sides, 7 sides, 8 sides, whatever. As long as all the sides are the exact same length, it's a regular polygon. If even one side is a little bit off, or a little bit shorter, or a little bit longer, it's not a regular polygon. Okay? All right, well, you guys have a great time in class, and I will see you later.